right, everyone, a good late morning to you. I am forecaster Nick Dunn here with you late this morning, and just wanted to give you a quick overall update on what we are going to be expecting as we continue to move through the rest of the day today. So we'll give everybody just a couple of moments to hop in here this morning. Just sent out a push notification to all of our users across Ohio and West Virginia and into northwestern Pennsylvania this morning, just to kind of recap what we are going to be talking about this morning. Risk of severe weather continues. We have a tornado watch in effect for some of our counties, and we'll get things going here in just a couple of moments, so stand by. All right, everyone, let's go ahead and kind of get things kicked off this morning with a look at what we are currently monitoring, and that is we have a tornado watch that is in effect for, well, actually quite a few of our counties here this morning, especially across western Ohio and into eastern Indiana. You can see these counties in yellow. This is that tornado watch that is in effect with us. If you're up here in Lima, Defiance, Fort Wayne, that goes until 4 o'clock this afternoon. If you're Dayton and Cincinnati and points west, it is until 5 o'clock this evening. So just to kind of give you an idea where that stands in terms of geographically. Now, look at the overall radar this morning. Again, right now, relatively, we're kind of in a good spot right now. We just have a few light showers, maybe even a few moderate showers kind of working through. Line of severe thunderstorm warnings back to the west. Okay, we have not had any tornado warnings yet this morning, at least anywhere close to our area. So again, another encouraging sign. When I was on this morning, a little bit after the 4 o'clock hour, I kind of talked about that, how again, the trend is our friend. And with the fact that we're not seeing a ton of tornado warnings, that's a good sign. Now, that doesn't mean I want you to let your guard down, because we still have a risk of tornadoes, and I'll talk about that here in a few minutes. But again, right now, the encouraging sign that we see here is that we have some clouds across the area as well, even in the tornado watch, right? But it is still very warm. If you've been outside, it's a little bit on the muggy side. Kind of feels like summer, if you ask me. So kind of giving you a wider look at the radar as well. I'll turn off the local radar here as well, just so you can kind of see, again, the overall grand scheme of things so far. Now, the new tornado watch, okay, that includes Dayton in the Miami Valley, down into Cincinnati, up to Salina, Wapakoneta. This activity here, we're going to have to watch, okay? It is out ahead of the cold front and out ahead of the main line, and so that we are a little bit concerned that maybe some of this activity could try to juice up a little bit, if you will, and may become severe. So we'll watch that as it works northeast. But again, the main threat for severe weather is along this line that is now developed. Again, we talked about this morning, just after the 4 o'clock hour, how that particular line might develop, and so far it has, and that will continue to progress off towards the east-northeast. I will also let you know that this line goes way down here into Missouri and even northern Arkansas. So the line as a whole relatively intact and relatively decent. This is certainly not the same intensity as what we had last Friday. And I know that that's maybe a piece of good news for some of you. We are not looking at the sheer, type 80 to 90 mile per hour winds that we had last Friday in some spots. We're not looking at the widespread tornado risk, right? So those again, our trend is our friend. And we do have some differences for today compared to last week. But again, this line continues to kind of take its hold here, okay, and it's going to continue to work off towards the east and to the northeast. I'll put the radar into motion for you. I'll have to let the loop load here a little bit. But I'll zoom it out big picture that you can kind of see, again, right now just our western counties underneath this tornado watch. We do have one severe thunderstorm warning for LaGrange County, Indiana. But overall, at the present moment, we don't have really much else going on. Again, there was some discussion about this complex here, maybe trying to get going to the south of Indianapolis. Let me turn on the lightning too, so we can kind of see how things are progressing with some of that activity this morning. Should get that update here to pop up in a second on the lightning, hopefully. But we're going to continue to monitor that for us very closely. Looks like the lightning's not wanting to work this morning. That's okay. But just know that we do have thunderstorms out here this morning. Again, we're in a very warm and juicy air mass, so the environment is favorable today for severe weather, including damaging winds and even a few tornadoes and even some hail as well. But the overall grand scheme of things, again, our trend is our friend, and I do think that damaging wind is our primary concern. So that's kind of a look at the radar side of things. Let's real quick take a look at the Storm Prediction Center side of things. So I'll turn off all of our watches and the warnings and the radar for right now. And let's go over to the Storm Prediction Center outlook. So again, nothing has changed on this side of things. We still have a level 3 out of 5. It covers much of the coverage area. So that those of you in Dayton, Cincinnati, Columbus, Toledo, Cleveland, kind of all our major metro areas. And then again, most of the Hoosier states still in level 3 out of 5 as well. But here's one of the bigger changes this morning. Look at our tornado risk. Remember how we had a 10% up here this morning? It's gone. Okay, so that means that the chance of supercell type thunderstorms is a little lower, and more of our embedded squall line type tornadoes appears to be the main driver today for the tornado risk. Now, you can see this is a very elongated and very wide 5% tornado risk for today. So a few tornadoes definitely possible, but it's not something to get overly alarmed about. Okay, this 5%, this brown shading, this is very standard for our area. Climatologically speaking, this is more normal than that 10% and what that hatched. Okay, and also the hail threat has gone down too. There's no more significant hail expected. Damaging wind threat still remains this 30%. Okay, for a lot of us, and that equates to that level 3 out of 5 risk for today. We're not looking at anything, widespread like a derecho. We're not looking at anything like that whatsoever. Again, that line that I showed you back to the west should continue to evolve and work eastward through the rest of the day, occasionally being severe, and I do think we could see still a few tornado warnings as the day progresses. So I still want you to be prepared. Make sure you have our Bell Park Weather Network app, and you should be ready to go. You should be just fine. But again, damaging winds is our primary concern. Timing, again, we kind of talked about 10 a.m. It is 11 a.m. now, so we are kind of moving into the beginning of our time frame, and really that's for our western counties. Okay, and again, we have the one warning for LaGrange County that you see scrolling at the bottom of your screen, but outside of that, relatively speaking, we're not in bad shape right now across the region. I will show you satellite real quick just so we can kind of talk about this, because as we've talked about, cloud cover, if we have a lot of that today, it could really put a damper on our severe risk. So when we look at the overall grand scheme of things from a satellite perspective this morning, we do notice a few pockets of clearing, but it's not widespread. Okay, a lot of us are mostly cloudy this morning. Some of us are even just fair with maybe a lot of mid-level clouds, but we do notice across parts of east central Indiana, down into southwestern Ohio, there's a few pockets of more like mostly sunny skies. But as you can see, they're pockets. It's not widespread. So that may keep our instability down as we work through the afternoon. And that may also kind of, again, maintain that damaging wind threat as the biggest driver for today. So I just wanted to kind of share that with you this morning. But that's just kind of where things stand. I just wanted to update you. We had that change in the Storm Prediction Center outlook this morning. Looking at temperatures, if they want to pop up and work for us here this morning, there we go. So we are seeing a lot of 70s, okay, across the region this morning. It's already 77 in Findlay and Toledo. We're looking at 75 in Cincinnati, 75 in Zanesville, 77 in Pittsburgh. But you start to see some of the cooler air already starting to make its way in across northwest Indiana, east central Illinois. That's where that cold front's where that line of storms is. Dew point wise, and that is not a very nice color table, so I cannot really show you that. But I can hover over a couple of these for you. Okay, so dew point in a place like Bell Fountain's in the 60s. Muncie, we're in the low 60s. Dayton, we're in the low 60s for dew points. Same thing there in Greenville. Okay, so in the low 60s, relatively speaking, we are definitely unstable. It's also a little bit breezy out there this morning. Here's some of those wind gusts. Lima's gusting to 44, Fort Wayne's gusting to 43. Looks like Rochester, Indiana's up to 45. But in general, about 25 to 45 mile per hour wind gusts. We may see a few pockets kind of eke a little bit higher than that towards 50 miles per hour, because remember we did that wind advisory for near and west of I-75 through this evening, and that's mainly for ahead of those thunderstorms. Breezy conditions are likely to continue. So again, overall, just wanted to come live, let you know that things are relatively calm. We don't have a whole lot going on. Again, I'm watching this activity. This might carry our best tornado risk potentially for today. But again, right now, as this is working northeast, skies are cloudy across the Miami Valley. But we will watch and see if this activity can build a little bit. The environment is favorable for it to do so. The question is, will it happen? And we'll kind of stand by and watch and wait and see how things go. I'll look at a couple of questions, and I will say, and I normally don't like to share my gut feelings with everybody, but I do think that this is going to be one of the more standard type severe risk days that we are typically used to seeing. Again, I do not expect an outbreak. I do not expect a derecho whatsoever. I think this is going to be more of our run-of-the-mill type severe weather event because of the cloud cover. Now again, the Storm Prediction Center maintains that level 3 out of 5 risk. It's nothing to sneeze at. It is our, we've already had several of these this year, one of which did not pan out at all, and a couple of which have actually panned out, about as we expected. So that's why we're here to prepare you. But again, my gut is telling me right now that I do think kind of our standard run-of-the-mill risk, especially with this activity kind of out here ahead of things, might work over the atmosphere a little bit before this line tries to come through, and that may move into an environment that's already been kind of worked over. But again, we got a lot to work out as the day goes. It is only late morning. We still have the rest of the afternoon, the rest of the evening, and into tonight to kind of watch and see how things progress. But I'll look at a few questions here. So Northwest Ohio, you guys are in the tornado watch. Lima, Defiance, Paulding until 4 o'clock. There's your severe risk right there. As you can see right now, just a couple of severe thunderstorm warnings, and it's kind of lacking a bunch of juice right now. So that's, again, one piece of good news. Dayton and Cincinnati, I see some questions here too. Okay, tornado watch until 5 p.m. Initially, this could develop. Okay, we'll see if this turns into anything. But then your line back to the west. That'll be our secondary type of threat for you. Okay. In terms of what to expect in general, in terms of, is my town going to get hit? Is my town going to get this? The overall answer to that is, remember that tornadoes cannot be predicted hours in advance. Okay, so if you're trying to ask if your area is going to get a tornado, there's a chance that anybody could have one today, right? Because we're all underneath that 5% tornado risk. But to sit here and try to say exact locations, guys, it's just not going to happen. And I'm being a realist with you, okay? Let's see here. Let's take a look at, see if there's anything else out there. How fast are the storms moving? Great question. So right now, a couple of these warnings back across Indiana, as you can see, storm motion's at about 60 miles per hour. So we can put a little bit of a time frame on this, but it's not going to likely reach Ohio. Let me see what I can do for you on that aspect. Okay. Well, again, I will see what I can do. That main line, moving it, will go 65 in 2 hours. Okay, it could be into Northwest Ohio and maybe grazing the Miami Valley. This activity a little further to the south, though. Okay, this activity here, moving a little bit more northeast. So we're talking about Richmond at 11:30, moving into Dayton at around noon, and then kind of moving into Piqua a little bit afternoon, and same thing for Xenia. But again, we'll have to just kind of watch that activity as it progresses through and see what the day holds for us. So that's kind of where things are. Looks like everybody's in pretty good shape questions-wise, and that's good. Will the tornado watch be expanded further east? It's very possible. In fact, if we don't see a tornado watch, it would likely be a severe thunderstorm watch, just given the overall threat for today. The next Storm Prediction Center update comes out at 12:30, and if there's any drastic changes, of course, we'll let you know. But at this point, we're going to be kind of in the let it ride mode and just see how the day pans out. But again, I think my overall gut is telling us that is the enhanced risk valid? I can see why. Will it verify? That's another question. And again, all it takes, though, is just 1 or 2 storms. That's the biggest key. And I will say that this activity further down south on this main line back here is a little bit more robust, and we'll see if that holds as it works northeast through the lower Ohio Valley and into our region a little bit later on this afternoon. So with that, guys, again, I'm not going to stay on here and overhype the situation. Just wanted to touch base with you. I'll let you know that we are here, we are watching, we are monitoring, and if anything is worthy of coming back on and talking to you, we'll be more than glad to do so. But other than that, we do expect some occasional other live updates for us, just to get these type of touch bases, I call it, just to kind of let you know what's going on. So have a good afternoon, everybody, and stay safe out there. I'm Forecaster Nick Dunn reporting.